I've been doing gangstalking videos since about, I think the first one that I did was in 2012. Maybe, to actually start to help you guys, it was probably 2012 or 2013. So, let's see, was it 2012? I don't remember. 2012 or 2013 is the first time I did a Gorilla Joe vid. On my original channel, I was running up at 3.7 million views when I got deleted. I got banned. I had 3.7 million views on my Gangstalker videos. I was the premier authority. I still am the premier authority. They just made me vanish, basically, with their algorithms, and then by deleting my channel. And then they deleted my second channel, too. This is my third one. I am the premier authority regarding gangstalking. No, I'm not a shill. I don't work for the government. I'm obviously not a fucking gangstalker. I was a targeted individual, as far as I know about, for 11 years. But to be honest with you, I think that they probably have been doing these kinds of experimentation on me since 1992. I have reason to believe, because I was working at Ward Memorial Hospital at that time. I worked at Ward Memorial Hospital from 1988 to 1992. And in 1992, I lost my job under very suspicious circumstances. And, of course, I was only 18 years old at that time, so, of course, I didn't know any better. But now, looking back in retrospect at the age of 44, I can tell you that I think they've been doing this, they were doing this 26 years ago. This kind of stuff. Of course, it was very primitive back then because there was no cell phones or smartphones or the kind of technology that exists now. So they weren't able to be as smooth as they're with it now, because they didn't have that kind of technology back then. Of course, there was no such thing as cell towers back in 1992. But I do have reason to believe that they've been doing it since then. And also looking back again in the year 2002, 10 years later. In 2002, when I first moved to Dallas, Texas to go pursue my career over there in telecom, I am almost entirely positive that they were doing things then too. I, in fact, am almost entirely positive of that. Cannot be completely positive, but I think so. I just... for those of you that have ever been gangstalked or flash mobbed, or you know what I mean, the organized harassment done against you, you know the symptoms. You know what I mean. You recognize things that like, for example, going to a convenience store that's completely dead, not a single person there. And in fact, the one clerk that's there at the 7-Eleven or whatever the name of a convenience store is for your town that you're living in, and there's just one person there, and that's the employee. That's it. And then you go, for whatever reason, pump gas, or maybe you just want to get yourself a midnight snack, or for whatever reason, get a big gulp, and you go in there, and the next thing you know, the parking lot within the next 5 to 7 minutes gets populated with 4, 6, 8, 9 vehicles, and all of a sudden it's completely packed. That kind of stuff, and that happening everywhere you go. And no matter how remote a place that you go, anywhere, there won't be any activity when you arrive, but there will be activity once you get there. It will just be a matter of time before you see headlights. And then you'll start to see one car, then a couple more cars, and a couple more cars, and next thing you know, it's total destruction of any kind of privacy. If you leave anywhere outside your home, where they just, I don't really understand what that is. I guess that's kind of like a subliminal way of fucking with people's heads, or trying to get people intimidated or whatever. But that's one, those kind of things. And I think back in 2002, and I'm like, I had stuff like that happening back then, but I didn't think about it. I didn't recognize it. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't what was on my mind. I remember going to a laundromat and washing clothes and having similar things happen back then, and that was way back. That was fucking 2002. That was 17 years ago. So that shit might have been going on in my life way back. Way, way, way back. And if it's 92, shit, that's 27 years ago. So who knows when they actually were doing this or how long. Where it was obvious for myself and my wife was around 2008 in Los Angeles, California. And then from then on, and for myself, I noticed in 2007, and she did too, but we weren't living together yet. I was in Texas in 2007, and she was like 1,100 miles away in Los Angeles, California. And so it's 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to 2017. 2017, it may have been 10 years, because 2017 I didn't really notice that much. And this past year, 2018, it seemed like either it hasn't been happening for 2017 and 2018 since Trump got in office, or we become so used to all of that stuff that we just don't even really notice it anymore. I'm not sure which. We just because what happens ultimately when you start going through anything, doesn't matter if it's gangstalking, it doesn't matter if it's having to take, for example, people that are diabetic and have to give themselves a shot in their belly, or if it's someone that has to take some kind of medicine, maybe because they have hypertension, or having to go on a diet where maybe you're getting fat and you have genetic predisposition to heart disease, so you have to change your diet and eat some lean meat, chicken and skinless, chicken and a lot of vegetables and fruits, whatever it may be, where you have to make a dramatic change in your life, or there is a dramatic change in your life, whether you want to make it or not, and you're forced to have to accept that change. As time goes by, it just becomes a normal part of life. And that's what happened for us with the gang stalking, to the extent that we don't know if we're still being targeted or not. We're not going to let down our guard and be foolish, but we don't see what we used to see. We don't see that kind of stuff. It's just not, the intensity of it is so small and so minute now, that if there is any kind of targeting going against myself and my wife, it's insignificant on such a scale that we're not able to be aware of it anymore. We're not aware of it. And we're very aware people. So if they're trying to get our attention, they're not succeeding at that because it's not happening, If they're trying to get us paranoid or whatever, that's not successful either, because we don't see anything. We don't see what we used to see, you know what I'm saying? And then we would know. It's obvious to the target, but it's not obvious to anyone else that's observing it. And it's designed to be that way. And as far as people saying, "Oh, well, you're crazy or paranoid," no. Don't ever believe that when someone's telling you that, because it's based on something called Zersetzung. And Zersetzung was a declassified military and paramilitary program that was going on in East Germany. When they still had the Berlin Wall, they had the Stasi there engaging in what's called Zersetzung, and it was and that actually stemmed from Nazi Germany, as these were tactics that were being used by the Gestapo way back in the 30s. And this kind of stuff has been going on literally for at least 3,000 years. It's not anything new. It's basically a lynch mob. It's basically really a form of a lynch mob. They used to do this to black people, the white slave masters and the racist whites and the Ku Klux Klan guys. So now you know where this stems from. Okay, it stems from Freemasonry. The Freemasons is in reality, regardless of what you read in Wikipedia is full of shit, because they're going to tell you what's politically correct about things. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're not going to say at the 6th degree of Freemasonry, to the Scottish Rite, that you have to engage in a homosexual act. They're not going to tell you that at the 32nd degree, you have to commit a sacrifice, and you have to be a part of a live human sacrifice. They're not going to tell you that, and that you have to drink blood out of a goblet while kneeling in front of a pentagram on the altar. They're not going to tell you those things. I mean, of course not. And so what Freemasonry in reality really is it's a white supremacy cult. It's a religion. It's a white supremacy religion. And it's a cult of white supremacists that are gay or bisexual and have a fetish for having sex with underage boys. That's what it is, and underage girls too, but they prefer boys. That's why you see Catholic priests frequently getting caught on the news. You hear about it. Catholic priests frequently getting caught molesting little boys. That's where that comes from, because in order to be a Catholic priest, you have to be a Freemason. And people will say, oh, well, Catholicism and the Jesuits and the Freemasons always been against each other. Well, yeah, maybe 1,000 years ago, not now. The way it is now, they're all the same. It's all one and the same now. They've all merged. It's part of that New World Order thing. And so if it's a Jesuit, a Zionist, or a Freemason, it's all the same thing. It's the same oaths. Judaism and Catholicism is the same thing. Judaism, Catholicism, and Freemasonry is all the same thing. It's all the same sex rites. It's all the same witchcraft. It's all the same oaths. It's also the same oaths and ceremonies that you do when you're a witch, when you engage in witchcraft and become a part of a coven. It's all the same thing. It's Baal worship is really what it is. It goes back to being Baal worship. And the mother lodge of them all is B'nai B'rith. They'll say the mother lodge is England. That is untrue. The premier lodge is B'nai B'rith. B'nai B'rith is a Jewish mysticism, a Jewish Freemasonic lodge, and it's Jews only. And in fact, they're not Jews. They're what's called Khazars. And those are the ones that are responsible for all of the gangstalking that has ever occurred in the entire history of the world. In the days of Moses, they gangstalked the Israelites, the Jews of those days, what would be called the Pharisees in Christ's time, and what you call today Zionists. They were gangstalking in Israel, and they were looking for Moses, and they went and slaughtered the Israelite children because they didn't want Moses to be born. So they were gang stalking their own people, and they're the ones that created the census, and it's according to the laws of God in the Old Testament that we're not supposed to do that. In other words, we're not supposed to count people. We're not supposed to grab people's names. We're not supposed to have a census, because these are the kind of things that happen. And so who you would call the Zionist Jews, or the Pharisees, or the Khazars, which is basically they're Edomites, they're Amalek. That's who they are in the Bible anyway. In the Old Testament, they're known as Esau, Edom. In the New Testament, the Gospels, they're known as the Pharisees. And today, in the present day, you call them the Jews, or the Zionists. But they are not. They are not Jews. They are not really Jews. And Christ Jesus says it in the book of Revelation. He says those that call themselves Jews, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And he told them that their father's a devil, and that's very true. And they do not take offense when you tell them that, because they know that they serve Lucifer. They serve the devil. And so they're the ones that are responsible ultimately for all of the gang stalking that happens on the earth, and that has ever happened on the earth. It's what you would call the Jews. And they do it through Freemasonry. And the Jews gang stalked David versus Goliath, that guy, David, son of Jesse, through King Saul. And if you look on Wikipedia, they talk about King Saul like he's a god. Oh, King Saul. Oh, King Saul was wonderful. But you look up King David, and in Wikipedia, and King David, they say that they say that he's a myth in Wikipedia. You know, you're like, okay, King Saul existed, but King David didn't. You know, and the reason being is because King Saul was evil. And for lack of a better word, he was evil. He was a demonic person. And he was engaging in what they call now the Babylonian Talmud. He was engaging in witchcraft and necromancy. And that is in direct violation of the laws that were given to Moses from God. The God they claim they serve in public. Okay, and they break Mosaic law all the time. You know, you're not supposed to engage in necromancy. You're not supposed to do a lot of things according to Moses, to the laws of Moses, which is why they follow these made-up laws called Noahide laws to Noah, which there's no such thing. They made it up in their own mind. That because they don't want to follow the laws of Moses, because they have to follow the laws of Moses. That means they have to be good, decent people, and they don't want to be good, decent people. They want to be scam artists, and they want to exploit everybody. Not just their own people, their own tribe, but especially all those that are not of their tribe, which is the majority of the human race, because there's only 14 million of them left on the earth, and there's 8 billion people, man. And so to justify their greed and their evil, you know, they tossed Moses, the laws of Moses, to the side, and Christ even confronted them about that 2,000 years ago. They're the gangstalkers. They're the ones that fund it. They're the ones that organize it, and they're the ones that are masters of it. And I'll tell you how they use the Masonic lodges to organize it all, and then I'll tell you how to defeat it and break it, to do everything that I did. And they gangstalked David until King Saul died, and his son. They both died in the battlefield, and I think King Saul fell on his own sword. And then David, of course, took over the throne. And then they gangstalked Jesus Christ of Nazareth, same people. They gangstalked Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's why he was walking all over Galilee and Nazareth, all over Judea, you know, because they were constantly following him around everywhere he went, and was constantly whispering in people's ears and saying slanderous things about Jesus and conspiring on how to kill him, and basically all the same gang-stalking tactics, you know, slander, character assassination. They were doing that with Jesus, which is why when he was they tried to catch him in speech, like they try to trap you in speech all the time. They try to trap you in speech where there's a cop around or something to that effect, always trying to make you look bad. Okay, that's just the way these creatures. They're not people. I don't classify the Pharisees or the Zionists or these Khazars as people. They're not people. They're creatures. They're either one of two things. They're either fallen angels themselves or they're Nephilim. They're not humans. Okay, they're a lower form of life. You live in a world of opposites. So when someone says they're a good person, they're really a bad person. When someone says that guy's telling the truth, they're really a liar. When they say that guy's a liar, they're really telling the truth. Okay, everything that they say, everything that a Talmudic Jew says is an inversion of reality. Because according to their Luciferian laws, that's one of their commandments, the law of inversion. Okay, that's why you see pentagrams, and then you see upside down pentagrams. That's why you see a cross, and you see an upside down cross. That's why you have a lot of them saying things in backwards language. Aleister Crowley taught this also, but this is way older than Crowley. This goes back thousands of years. And so everything they do is an invert of reality. So whatever a Jew says, the exact opposite is what's true. Okay, they say Jesus Christ did not exist, or he did exist. They say that Jesus Christ is in hell. He's actually in heaven. You understand? They say Jesus Christ's mom, according to the Talmud, that Jesus Christ's mom was a prostitute. That's actually untrue. Jesus Christ's mom was the opposite, a virgin. You see what I'm saying? Everything is the opposite. When they say they're the Jews, no, they're actually not the Jews. They're the synagogue of Satan. Okay, when they say they're God's chosen people, they're actually not. They're God's damned people. And they're God's chosen people to go to hell. Yeah, they've been chosen to go to hell. And so everything that they say, because they have to follow the laws, because that's one of their commandments, they have to have that law of inversion. So everything that they say in news on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox is a direct opposite of reality. Whoever they accuse of being the villain is actually a good guy. Okay, that's why they never accuse themselves, do they? Because they're never the good guy. You see what I'm saying? So they never play the villain, they never play the hero. In every story, there's never the Jew is always the victim, because they're the ones that are the victimizers. The law of inversion. Get used to it. And once you start using and applying that law of inversion on the news that you read in the newspapers and the magazines and start seeing on television, the news will make a lot more sense to you. Okay? It'll make a lot more sense to you. And they use Freemasonic lodges, which Freemasonic lodges serve B'nai B'rith, and they serve the Jews. And the Freemasonic lodges, like I said, is a white supremacy institution that is of white racist males that are either homosexual or have bisexual tendencies. And because that's one of the requirements, you have to have sex with men. You can't be part of the lodge, and you can't go up into the upper degrees unless you have sex with other men. That's just the way it is. And they engage in Satanism and in witchcraft. And of course, they have oaths of secrecy so that you people don't think that you just think that they're just nice, sweet little old white men, that, do nice things for the community or whatever, when that's completely untrue. They're exploiting and victimizing the community with a smile on their face, pretending to be nice people, but they are not. And they'll treat each other nicely with respect, but to put in the words of a guy, of a Mason that I knew very, very well, and that we were really actually very good friends, and he's passed away now. He basically said, as far as the human race is concerned, if is in America, it doesn't matter if you're an American. In the eyes of a Freemason, if you're not one of us, you are nothing. Even if you're our brother, our dad, our son, if you're not a Mason, you are nothing to us. And he meant that with every fabric of his being. And the only reason why I meant anything to him was because we were already best friends way before he ever joined the lodge. So we still were tight, you know what I'm saying? Even though he went in there and got all brainwashed and all that stuff, he would never turn his back on me or whatever. And I believe that's the reason why he died. And in fact, he was my attorney, Brother Allen, and one of my best friends. And he did some amazing things for me in my lifetime, and hope that God has mercy upon his soul, because he did some amazing things for my life. And another one was Judge Mark Owens, who was another one of my friends that I had known for a long, long, long time. And then they, I got connections, man, and they were high-ranking Masons, and I believe that it was either my death psalms or they were executed. One of the two happened, because they both died after my case in 2012, where all these charges against me through the Gangstalking system, they were all thrown out because it was rigged in my favor. The cops were rigged to arrest me, but the judges were rigged to vote, to do everything in my favor. And all I had to do was pay a $1,200 bribe. I paid $1,200 cash under the table to Judge Owens, and he made it all go away. And there were other judges involved, but they're alive, so I'm not going to say their names out loud, but I'm just going to say that they're all good, honorable people. They knew that those charges against me were completely false and made up, and just evil designs against me, trying to set me up for things I did not do. They tried to get me for a second offense DWI when there was no alcohol in the automobile, when I was not even driving anyway. I was not driving. I was pumping gas in the car, and they did the breathalyzer and I passed it, and they still threw me in jail anyway. Crazy. So anyway, I apologize for going off on a tangent, but that goes to show you some things regarding Freemasonry and how they perceive non-Freemasons. Okay, it is a satanic cult. And the Jews, the reason that they do this is because every time they perceive a threat, because based on their astrology, like for example, Moses was prophesied to come, so they went and they killed all the little boys. And then later, who knows how many hundreds or thousands of years passed, and then Jesus Christ of Nazareth was prophesied to be born. So King Herod, gang-stalked the entire Israelite population and killed all the little boys aged 2 years of age and younger. Okay, they're fucking straight maniacs, these lunatics, these people. There's this tribe of lunatics. And why they do that on both occasions? Because they're scared of one thing and one thing only, and that's God. They're not scared of war. They're not scared of an army. They're not scared of violence. They're not even scared of you taking their money. Because they print the money, they'll just make more. What they are scared of is God. They are scared of spiritually strong human beings because they are fallen angels and their sons and daughters are fallen angels. They're not people. They're not humans. And that's why they look grotesque. That's why they have this bizarre look. They just look like non-humans. And don't tell me they don't. You know they do. Look up Lady Gaga in a bikini, who's a Jew. Look up, look her up in a bikini and look how grotesque she looks. Grotesque. Doesn't look like a male, doesn't look like a female. Looks like a it in a bikini. Look up Lady Gaga in a bikini. And okay? And then look up also Amy Winehouse in the bikini. Doesn't look like a man, doesn't look like a woman, just looks like some kind of creature. She's a Jew also. Okay? And you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to get across to you. These creatures are disguised as people, but they are not. And they're disguised as Jews, and they are not Jews. They're not even humans. And that's why they fear God. That's why they feared Christ. That's why they feared Moses. And that's why they went and started killing all the kids back in those days. And they do gang stalking now because they know there's only 14 million of them left. And they're frightened of what's called in the Bible the hidden ones, also known as the lost sheep. The lost sheep of Israel and the hidden ones of the Most High. And so now they have technology to be able to help them identify who are the lost sheep and who are the hidden ones. And those are the people that are being gang stalked. If you're being gang stalked, you need to rejoice, because that means you're going to heaven. Because the only reason that you're being gang stalked, the only reason, is because you're one of the hidden ones or one of the lost sheep of God, the Most High, the Creator. In other words, you came from heaven to do something here on this earth, and then when you're done accomplishing it, you get to go back to heaven. Okay? You just don't remember that because you're in your flesh body and you don't remember your consciousness. You don't remember who you really are. You don't even know why you're really here, but you got kind of an idea. Okay? And what you need to do is get yourself a pair of sunglasses, because if they cannot perceive what you're looking at and they can't perceive what you're listening to, so get yourself some earbuds. So when they're doing any kind of street theater or anything like that, they're trying to say something to initiate a response from you, you're not going to be able to hear it anyway because you have your earbuds on. And you really don't even have to be listening to anything. Just have the earbuds on anyway, and you'll already negate street theater. You'll negate anything that they may want to say to try to initiate a response from you so they can map your brain, because that's what they're trying to do. Since you're a hidden one or one of the lost sheep of the Most High, they know that you have supernatural power. Even though you don't, they know it. They know it because they're fallen angels. They're Nephilim. They're either fallen angels or half human, half fallen angel hybrids, which are called Nephilim. So they know. And so they want to map your brain so they can understand God better, so they can figure out how to acquire that power for themselves again, because when they fell, they lost that power. They want to try to regain it by mapping your brains and my brain, because we're the chosen ones, we're the elect, by mapping the elect. And then thus, hopefully they can be able to recreate that power, try to maximize it, and then literally try to kill God with it. That's the goal of these lunatic fallen angel creatures. Okay, so that's why you're being gang stalked. They use the Masonic lodges, who are devil worshippers and devil worshipping society of people, to fund it and to organize it all. That's how all this goes down, man. And then, of course, I know people are astounded, like, how did you find all this out? Well, if I were to tell you, you wouldn't believe me anyway. I could tell you what you would believe. I could tell you lies. I could say, oh, well, I did research and I found this out and I found that out. No, the reality is I had spirits, invisible creatures, told me all this stuff. That's a reality, that God sent what I believe were his angels. I don't believe they were demons. I believe that God sent Jesus Christ and his angels, and they started telling me all these things in my mind, telling me everything. And then I would get it in dreams. I would have dreams and visions at night, and then I'd go and try to confirm this stuff on the internet, and I would find confirmation. And then it was making sense. So I tried to find confirmation of it over these past 10 years. And yeah, there it is. Boom, 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 boom. Are the institutions involved, and how they're involved, and who's funding it, and why, and all of that. And it all made sense. And then I was able to confirm it. I was able to confirm Boeing this, and Raytheon that, and Citizen Corps this, and Fusion Centers that, and Homeland Security this, and Patriot Act and FISA that. And it just all fits seamlessly. And I don't have enough time. I mean, I could write a book on gangstalking, to break it down for you, but I don't have that kind of time. But what I can tell you is that if they can't tell what you're looking at, if you have sunglasses on where they can't see your eyes, and they can't tell what you're looking at, they can't tell if you're paying attention to them or not. And then also if you have earbuds on, so they can't tell if their street theater is going to work on you, because they can't tell if you can fucking even hear them or not. And as long as you're doing that, you already won 50% of the battle. You already fucked their plans up completely. Because now they can't get a response from you, because they don't know if they're getting a response from you, because they can't fucking tell. Why do you think the Secret Service wears sunglasses? That's why I'm telling you to wear sunglasses too, for the same reason the Secret Service wears sunglasses. So they can face one direction and be looking in another. They'll be facing at the 2 o'clock position, and they're actually looking at the fucking 9 o'clock position. You understand? That's what you got to do. You got to be crafty. When you crafty against these gang stalkers and against their system, which was initiated and created by the FBI, that's the FBI oversees it. The Masons are the ones that hires the street level people, okay, because they know the community. The cops are in on it, and usually the sheriff's department as well, and first responders, they're all in on it now. They're all in on it. A long time ago, pre 9/11, they were not. It had to be really like shadow ops. Now the first responders are in on it because they're told lies. What they're told about you is they're told that you're some kind of high value target, that you are considered a dissident, that there's an active investigation against you by the federal government, usually the FBI. This is all lies, basically. They're lying. These are treasonous lies and slander. This is treason. But the first responders don't know that, okay? They see the FBI badge, and they just automatically, ignorantly presume that the person's telling the truth. And so they tell the first responders, or your EMS guys, and your people that pilots, and ones in trains, and cabbies and bus drivers and truck drivers, but especially the EMTs, the cops, and the firemen, that you're under investigation by the FBI. That a dissident, and potentially maybe someone that may be dangerous to society. When the cops look up your name, that will show up there on their screen, in between the passenger seat and driver's seat of their squad car. And I know this because of the cops that have ratted them out to me, because I told you I've infiltrated all their institutions. So I was able to get confirmation of my visions by talking to my guys that are on the other side, but are really on my side. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's the only way you're going to beat something like this, is if you infiltrate their ranks, which I did that way before I even realized I was being targeted. And it just happened quite frankly, by accident. I had friends of mine in high school that just wound up and grew up, be cops, became EMTs, went to Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and whatnot, and now they're very useful. Okay, anyway. The FBI is the one that engages in the actual X's and O's. They're the ones that come up with the plans and the schemes. Okay, the Masonic lodges are the ones in charge of getting the personnel. And then the B'nai B'rith guys, the ones at the top, the eyeball people, the Jews, Pharisees, Sadducees, the Babylonian Talmudic devil worshippers. They're the ones that fund it. And it's all about trying to map the brain of the elect of the Most High God, trying to map the brain of Christ's people, of the lost sheep of Israel, because they want to figure out why you're a lost sheep. They want to figure out what is it about your brain that's different than everyone else's. What is it about your thought patterns and your brain mapping that's different than a typical human? They want to figure that out because Lucifer's trying to figure out God, and he's using these humans as puppets to be able to accomplish that task. And Lucifer's using these humans to recreate his body, his cherub, which fell. When he fell, his body disintegrated when he went into this atmosphere. And so he's trying to recreate his body because he was actually a robot. Lucifer was a robot. He was a robotic machine with a consciousness. And so he's just consciousness now. So he's trying to create his robotic body, and that's what CERN is. CERN is also trying to find that so-called God particle, and CERN is really trying to really be a primitive form of a cherub. And the brain mapping, like I said, is the primary function, although there's tons of other functions for gang stalking. Like, for example, the gang stalkers themselves usually wind up dead so they can harvest the organs. The very same people that hired them harvest the organs. That's a Masonic thing. And then also the gang stalkers get thrown in prison and jail for the very things that they do to you, like burglarizing your home, vandalizing your things, even though they were told by the police officers that hired them that they would never get arrested. They do get arrested to keep the prisons full, and because there's a lot of investors, that invest in prisons, because prisons in America have been privatized. That's why we have the largest prison population in the world. And so there's tons of functions for gang stalking, but the biggie that you need to know about is you're being targeted because you have supernatural powers. You have the power of mind over matter. You have the power to be able to create matter out of thin air, like Christ did when he was able to create all that bread and all that fish out of thin air. You have the power to do that if you're being gang stalked. You just don't know how to use it. You don't know it exists, and you don't know how to manifest it. I don't know how to manifest that on that scale either. I can't create fish and bread out of nowhere. I've been able to do things on a small scale. Small scale. I'm not going to talk about it on here, but I've been able to do it on a small scale. Not nothing big like that, although that's my goal, is to be able to do that kind of stuff. But I can do small scale miracles. I haven't figured out how to do the biggies like that yet. But everything necessary I've needed to do, I've been able to do. I've literally been able to, well, I'm not going to talk about it, but I got power, and you got power too. And trust me, just work on awakening it. And the way you work on awakening it is, don't give these people your time. Whatever they want you to think, don't think it. Whatever they want you to do, don't do it. Whatever they want you to say, don't say it. And however they want you to feel, don't feel it. Okay? And you have to be unpredictable. What I suggest is, like, for example, make yourself predictable at first. I'm going to tell you what I did because it worked. What I did is I set traps because these people aren't very smart. Okay, no offense, but the enemy's dumb. It's just, it is what it is. And so, and I don't think I'm that smart. I have an IQ of 146, or so what? Who cares? You know what I mean? I don't think that means anything. I know maybe I'm kind of bright or kind of smart, but I don't think I'm that smart. I think it's more or less that they're dumb. Not so much that I'm smart, but they're really dumb. And so what I did was, like, I set traps. I used to box when I was younger, from 1978 to 1992. And so I was a counterpuncher. I was the kind of guy that I would let people come in and try to punch me as hard as they can, and I would set traps, and I'd see their openings and I'd hit them. Because they're too busy swinging, they can't be defending themselves. You can't swing and defend yourself both. You can only do one or the other. So I'll let people try to hit me, and I just punch them because I see the openings that they don't even realize are there within themselves. And that's what I did with the gang stalking, with the FBI and with their personnel. I would let them come attack me and flash mob me and fuck with my shit in the middle of the night. I'd purposely leave the home abandoned, even though I had people watching it. They didn't know that. And I would do that to get them comfortable with doing those things to me. And then I would set traps, and bad things would happen to them. And I kept doing that over and over again until I got them in a state of confusion. And now they were not so confident. And that's why I say I wiped their smirk off their fucking face. And boy, we really did. We really did, big time. Wipe that, because in the beginning they'll smirk at you. They'll have that little smile, like they know something you don't know. Which obviously, of course, they know things you don't know. But you also know things they don't know. You see what I'm saying? And so they give you that little smirk and, look at you like you ain't nothing. And I wiped that fucking smirk. Oh man, it felt so good. Oh, It feels so good to wipe that smirk off those motherfuckers' faces, man. Man, now I look at these people, they're terrified. They're terrified. Nobody will make eye contact with me anymore. They're fucking scared, and it's a trip because like it's a combination. The ground level guys, the ones that they hire, like the illegal aliens and the poor, they're just terrified because rumors get around about me. They these rumors are mythological rumors, like, oh, he's 10 feet tall. I've seen him when William Wallace tore down 1,000 men with his bare hands. All these tall tales and fables about Guru Joe and how he defeated Gangstalking and everything. Locally, it's like a living legend. Really, I'm not kidding. I've heard the stories, and it's just total bullshit. They just magnify, make fables out of how I defeated Gangstalking, and it's totally untrue. But that's just a bunch of tall tales, but it doesn't matter. The gangstalkers still believe it. And so they're terrified. I go walking around town or go to the mall or grocery store or whatever, and they make eye contact. They are fucking frightened. And I don't know what they've been told or what they've heard, but they're fucking scared. I mean, scared. And I'm seized with fear. And even the cops, they'll look bold for a little while, and then I make eye contact with them, and they kind of don't want to look at me no more, and they leave. And I don't know what lies are being told to make them feel like that or whatever, act like that. But the lower level guys, yeah, they're kind of terrified. Then you go to the Masons themselves. 'Cause I can spot a Mason like that because I can see the demons. I see demons. Like how that show with Bruce Willis. I see dead people. Well, I understand what that little kid's talking about. I see demons. And so when I see a Freemason, every Freemason has a demon assigned to them. The moment you take that first oath, as they enter the apprentice, when you go to that very first ritual, and you Freemasons, you know what I'm talking about. When you go to that ritual, the very, very first one, as they enter the apprentice, the very first one. Because every degree you go through a ritual. Okay? And so that very first ritual, you have a demon assigned to you. Of course, they don't tell you that. And it's called a familiar spirit. Well, I see that. So every Freemason I've ever seen in my life, boom, I immediately know that's a Mason because I see the demon that's assigned to him. I see the demon. I see the demon more vividly than I see the person. And the demon fucking flees. Woo, it's gone. And then the Freemason's mad. I can see anger. And then I try to make eye contact with that Mason, and it ain't happening. And then the Mason goes from anger to being absolutely terrified. So you want respect like that. You want to gain that kind of respect. Let me teach you how to do it. And then you teach everyone else so we can put an end to this evil, fucked up system. Let these people know we're not going to tolerate that fucking terroristic shit. You understand? You want to make an arrest, you got evidence or something, then use it and make the arrest and prosecute. Otherwise, leave those people alone. That's what I told them. I said, hey, if you got evidence, use it. You got something against me, fucking make the arrest, take me to court, charge me, convict me. Otherwise, fuck off. Well, they fucked off because there was nothing. There was no evidence because I'm not a criminal. No charges, no warrants, no nothing. There's over there just being fucking troublemakers. Troublemakers with badges, man, acting like children. Literally acting like children, man. This is not a fucking game. All right? People die over shit like this because God's watching. God's going to strike you down, man. I've already seen God strike down all sorts of people. And you want God on your side. Okay? And the way you're going to get God on your side is by not complying. Again, whatever the gangstalkers are trying to make you do, don't do it. They're trying to make you lash out, do not do it. They're trying to make you angry, don't be angry. Whatever emotion they're trying to make you feel, don't feel it. Whatever they're trying to get you to say, don't say it. Don't be prideful. Don't let your ego get in the way, man. Stay humble. God will kill these people for you. Stay humble, all right? Don't lash out. Don't try to be all manly. I know it's hard. It's difficult. It was very difficult for me years ago, okay? Just ignore these people. Ignore them. That's the number one way to defeat it, is to ignore it. The number one way to defeat them is to ignore them. Be aware of them, but don't give them any kind of satisfaction. Okay? Because they're mapping your brain. Even though the gangstalkers themselves may not be aware of any of that, That's what the higher level people are doing in their vans, okay, as well as in up in the sky. So wear your sunglasses so they can't see what you're looking at. Have some earbuds on, and that way none of the street theater, they won't even bother trying to do it, because what's the point? They can't tell if you're fucking paying attention to them or not, because they cannot see your eyes, they can't see what you're looking at, and they don't know if you're listening to them or not. They don't know if you're actually listening to music or not listening to music. They just know you got earbuds on, you got sunglasses on. They can't tell what you're looking at, and they can't tell if you can hear them either. So now you totally fuck them up. Okay, so do that when you go out in public. Do it. It's not against the law for you to have sunglasses on indoors. It's not against the law for you to wear earbuds when you go into a store. So do it. Okay, take my advice, man. I'll teach you how to destroy it. I'll teach you how to crush this system. It's not difficult. It's all global non-compliance, man. I was telling people this in 2008. Global non-compliance. Whatever evil wants you to do, don't do it. Whatever evil wants you to say, don't say it. Whatever evil wants you to think, don't think it. And whatever evil wants you to feel, don't feel it. Total non-compliance. And when you do not comply and you convince others not to comply and we become the majority, guess what? They're forced to obey us now, or else there's going to be a fight. Okay? And they don't want to fight. Trust me. The Illuminati do not want to fight with God's people, because they know they will lose and they will die. And everything that they created is just going to go over to us. Okay? They know they can't win a fight. So they're trying to get you to destroy yourself. Don't fall for that shit. Alright? That's just the way it is. That's reality. Don't fall for their fear and intimidation tactics. They can't hurt you. They can't incarcerate you. They can't kill you. And if anyone writes down here and says, oh, well, they did do this to me, that's a shill and they're lying. God protects his own. And don't you come writing on my fucking video and say anything other than that, because you are a liar. Let God be true and every man a liar. That Bible says no weapon formed against you shall ever prosper or prevail. And I believe it because it's true and I've lived it. That Bible says 1,000 shall fall by thy right hand, 1,000 shall fall by thy side, 10,000 shall fall by thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Well, I believe that. All right? As long as you have no fear of these assholes, they can't do shit to you. Don't fall for their shit. Because these people are nothing, man. They're worms. All right? Don't fall for their intimidation tactics. No intimidation. Don't fall for their fear tactics. No fear, man. You're supposed to be fearless. You're a son or a daughter of the Most High God. Act like it. You have power. You have power they want that they're never going to have. You got the power to snap your fingers and watch them be vaporized or have a heart attack or a stroke right in front of you that second. You have power. And I'm going to teach you how to awaken that power, because I do have that power. I've made car crashes happen just out of thin air. O Lord God, to whom vengeance belongeth. O Lord God, to whom vengeance belongeth. Show thyself. Boom. And when I said show thyself, between the syllables thy and self, bam, their cars just smashed into each other. It totally wrecked each other's automobiles. That power summons storms. I can summon storms out of thin air. And the FBI knows that because they saw me do it in Dallas, Texas in 2011. It freaked them out. I made people disappear. They were surveilling me at the Buena Vista Estates in 2011 in Dallas, Texas. They had cameras in my apartment and microphones. They had cameras and microphones in everyone's apartments over there. And they literally saw people disappear in their beds. And they knew that somehow I had something to do with it, and it freaked their ass out. And literally they were asleep in their bed, and then the camera just had a little bit of snow for like a split second, and all of a sudden there was no one in the bed. And then there was no one in the apartment. There was just no one there. And then it was very eerie. And the tow trucks started showing up and started towing everybody's trucks out, or everyone's automobiles out of there. They just disappeared out of thin air. I have powers to be able to do things like that, and I'll teach you how to awaken those powers within yourself. I don't know how to do the multiplication of loaves. I don't know how to walk on water. I don't know how to do those things yet. So I think also that I believe that they're trying to map my brain when I perform stuff like that. And probably maybe even perhaps when I'm doing death psalms, they're trying to map my brain to see what's going on, but they don't seem to get it. The power doesn't come from me. The power comes from the universe, the cosmos. It's celestial power that does not come from this mortal body. The death psalms is merely a way for me to summon the creator, the universe, this consciousness to come and destroy those who've been persecuting me or whoever my target is that I identify that I want to be smashed. And so what I can tell you, the first thing you have to do, like I said, sunglasses and earbuds. Next thing is global noncompliance. Next is you have to understand and just come to accept the fact that you're going to be targeted until this is either over or until they become extinct, okay, or until Christ comes back, because you are one of the chosen. You are one of the Most High. You're one of the elect whom the Most High has chosen. Okay, we were chosen by the Lamb of God. You're one of the hidden ones. You're one of the lost sheep of Israel. Okay, even if you don't even believe in God or Jesus, you better start, because that's why you're being targeted. Okay, that is the only reason. Because you have supernatural power that you don't even realize you have, but they do. They know you do, and they don't want you awakening it. Because you take over the world real quick with it. You'll wipe out their system like that, because they've had to deal with people like you before. Like Christ Jesus is one of them, and King David is another. And they know they can't win anymore. That 400-year period is over now. Now they get to lose. Their grace period is over. The 400 years of captivity is done. Esau is no longer in power. Now it's Jacob's turn to come back into power. And you're Jacob. Because there are no blessed people that are Esau. Esau is cursed. The only people in this world that are blessed are sons and daughters of Jacob. That's it. So if you're being targeted, you're a son and daughter of Jacob. You're a son and daughter of the Most High God. That means you're a real Israelite. You're descended from the Israelites. You're one of God's chosen people. And not only that, you're one of his lost sheep. You're one of the most precious people in the entire universe to ever be created to him. And you have supernatural powers. You have superhuman powers. Jesus Christ of Nazareth says in the gospel that you shall be able to perform all these signs and even greater wonders than these. Okay? What do you think? He was lying? You think that he was just exaggerating? No. You think that was allegory? Don't be foolish. He was telling you straight up truth, man. All those miracles you saw him do, including raising Lazarus from the dead, restoring sight to the blind, healing people, all that stuff, you have that power within you. You have that power within you. I do too. And like I said, I can summon the storms. Now I understand how the Indians were able to do rain dances. I don't do a dance, but I know how to summon a storm. I know how to summon a vicious storm. And I know how to do other things. I don't really feel comfortable talking about them. Like those people vanished. We got rid of principalities. My daughter was only 2 years old. My daughter and I, we did something, a kind of almost like a ritual type of thing in the bathtub, where we were grabbing water. We had filled the bathtub with some water, and then we put some garments there. She was only 2 years old, and she was doing the chanting while I was doing the actual physical motions with the water and the clothes and towels. There were 7 principalities on this earth. They died in 2011. That's how come the Illuminati has been in a state of confusion from 2012 to the present day. And that's why the Mayan calendar ended in 2012 also. And I didn't realize any of that until afterwards. And their familiar spirits don't know what to do, because the familiar spirits that the Illuminati have, they get their commands from those principalities that are no more. They're in the abyss. They don't exist anymore here in this earth plane. And so therefore they're really just, they don't know what to do. That's why they've been chasing their tail for so many years now. They should have got this all done and wrapped up with a long time ago. And they haven't. There's all sorts of chaos going on in the Illuminati's world. And it's chaos that they don't know how to make order out of, because it's chaos I introduced into their world, or God the Father introduced into their world through me and my family, my daughters. We got some hardcore spiritual power up in this family, man. We're awesome. We're the real Fantastic Four. And I want your powers to be awakened and see what you can do, because I think our powers are all kind of unique. I know that we all have the same powers as Christ, but we also have unique powers because our fingerprints are one of a kind. So we all have unique powers because we all have unique supernatural, superhuman tasks that we need to do for God. And as long as you're willing to do those tasks, you cannot be incarcerated, you cannot be killed, you cannot have any kind of harm come to you whatsoever. You cannot be oppressed, you cannot be stopped, because God won't allow it. All right? So get into that Bible reading, read at least one chapter a day, say at least one Our Father a day, and start off just with that. And listen to this video over and over again to strengthen yourself, and try to memorize as much as you can of what I told you just now. And I'll go into the deeper, more complicated stuff. And I would appreciate it if you had the decency to throw me a 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever it is you can afford every now and then, so that I can be able to feed my family. You understand? Because this is some serious stuff right here. Okay, this is not some mumbo-jumbo snake oil salesman crap like what you're going to get at your local Baptist church or Methodist church, where they're just teaching you a bunch of nonsense. There's a bunch of stuff that won't help you. Fake salvation. I'm teaching you something real here, man. All right? And I don't give a damn if you contribute anything financially or not. I'm going to teach you anyway, because it needs to be done. I'm just saying, hey, how about something for the effort, man? You know what I mean? That would be nice. That would be polite, and there's some common decency on your part. But whether you donate to my ministry or not, I'm still going to help you, because I have to. You know what I mean? We in the end times, baby. So I'm going to teach you that there's what I've taught you right now. This is the beginning. Make sure your foundation is set on rock. I just gave you the foundation. This video. No, do it. Read at least one verse of the Bible every day, preferably the Gospel of John. Start reading your Psalms. Start reading your Psalms and really pay attention to what you're reading. Read the Psalms and read the Gospels of John. Okay? And you pray at least one Our Father. I would suggest you pray 2 Our Fathers. One when you wake up in the morning, so you can thank God that you woke up, because there's tons of people that are going to go to sleep tonight and they ain't going to wake up tomorrow all over the world. It happens every day. And then before you go to bed, say another Our Father. So, it's a way to thank Him that you made it through the day, and that you're alive, you're well, and that you're about to get some rest. All right? The most important thing with the Heavenly Father is for you to be grateful to Him. Be grateful that you're alive. Be grateful that for everything you got. Be grateful if you had a meal to eat today. There's tons of people starving, so be grateful you had a meal. Be grateful you got a place to live, because there's a lot of homeless people all over the place, okay? So be grateful. Be grateful to God first and foremost. Secondly, don't question His power in your life. Have faith in Him. And no matter what problems or what kind of BS you're going through in your life, have faith that He's going to solve and fix all that for you. And He will. Okay? And when it happens, you remember I called it, and you give glory to Him. You tell Him thank you. You tell Yahweh thank you. You tell Jesus Christ of Nazareth thank you. And then strengthen your faith from that, and realize that through no matter what adversity you're going to have in your life, they will always come through and hook you up and help you out. They will always fix it and make it better. That's to fulfill the prophecy of this, okay? Because He calls upon me, He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. That's God talking, okay? Because He sets His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. You set your love upon Him by being grateful to Him all the time, by taking some time out of your life to read the Bible and pray to Him, okay? And by saying thank you, and having faith when you're going through problems and trouble and adversity, and having faith and knowing that He's going to come through. No matter how crazy or impossible it looks, you just believe, you believe, you believe, and you refuse not to believe, because your life depends on it, man. And when He does come through for you, and He is, and He will, you remember I called it. I know what I'm talking about. And you give glory to God and to Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You praise Him. Okay? That's you setting your love on Him now. Because He sets His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high because He knoweth my name. His name's Yahweh.
He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him, and show him my salvation. Amen. All right, King David out. Peace be with you.